we're going to be known as the smart trickeration guys. If you see a trick program, oh, that's something trick play. Oh, that's something Boise State would do. Oh, okay. Like that's who they were. They had that identity. We're smart. We're blue collar. We got a blue field. We're going to kick your ass if we play you. And we need to be a part of the national mix. And that's what captivated so many stinking people with this program. Can I say it? That was a long time ago. And I think that's fair now. That was 15 years ago. That was a long time ago when Boise State was a national conversation relevant program. I think part of the reason is, dang it, they keep starting 0-1 or 0-2. So when you get that first loss, you don't get to be talked about in college football until a bunch of other teams have losses too. It's kind of how it works. I'll ask you, Bob Beeler, because you've been on the call with this program since 2008. Boise State this year, is this their best chance at national relevance again in a while? And I guess kind of how long has a while been for you, Beeler?
I think they are going to be nationally relevant because I think they're going to fight for that spot in the college football playoff. And they got the first one of the, group of 5 teams going to the bowl game in 14. So and they got a bowl bid in 06 with the Fiesta Bowl that year with the BCS. So I think they're going to get back to their roots. I think they're going to contend for that spot. You'd certainly say they were nationally relevant in 2014 when they went and won the Fiesta Bowl. I think they've been in the conversation. 19 to win at Florida State, got as high as 14 that year before a loss to BYU.
That's the last time Boise State has lived in the top 15, Bob. Okay.
So
good stat. Good stat. Okay.
So I think maybe 19, but that year was kind of crazy because Hank was hurt a lot. Jalen Henderson jumped in, but that was a pretty good team. And that was a team that was fighting Memphis for a spot in the bowl game. So I would say the last time they were nationally relevant was 19.
One loss that year, BYU that season,
and then a bowl game. Yeah, and they lost to Washington.
You're right, they lost in Chris Peterson's final game, which kind of washed away a lot of the stuff from that season.
Yeah, I think people thought it was not as good a season based on the way it ended.
Yeah, I'm thinking here too, like how nationally relevant, how national. The national narrative and conversation where, it's college game day. Oh, we need our Boise State segment. Okay. Should they, could they, would they, whatever. I mean,
I don't think they felt college game day. I don't think Boise State had the love in 2019 as they had in 14.
Let us know. 208-424-9300 Double Tap Pub Hotline. I love you. What do you remember maybe about that 2019 team that, like Bob said, that it kind of felt different? I mean, it was great record historically, 11-1, won the Mountain West Championship. Beat Hawaii that year? Was that the Hawaii year? Maybe that's another thing. They beat a 6-6 fart knocker for the conference title. Like it wasn't a big deal. What do you guys remember about that season? And in your opinion, was Boise State still nationally relevant back in 2019? That would have been 5 years removed from the last Fiesta Bowl trip in 2014. 208-424-9300. Hit us up on that double tap pub hotline.
I have to share something from the Florida State game.
Okay.
I'm at halftime, and you know how you can always go get something to eat or drink at halftime, like a cookie or something. So I'm in line, and somebody from Florida State is behind me. Now, mind you, they're ahead at halftime.
Wait, right? You're in the press box.
Yes, I'm in the press box.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And somebody behind me, just, you're making small talk, says, I thought you guys were going to be better.
And it was week 1 at halftime?
Yeah. Well, they were ahead. So I don't know what they expected. Remember, that was the game that was moved from Jacksonville.
Florida State did look good early. Cam Akers, right?
Yeah.
Was running all over the place.
And I looked for the guy after the game, but I didn't see him.
208-424-9300. Your thoughts. Is this Boise State's best chance to be a nationally relevant program again? If they can really make it happen this year, does that even buy them some future time this year? My answer to this question is yes. And by the way, Bob, I was thinking about this today when I was taking a leak of all times. Boise State's last major national moment was beating Florida State because it wasn't beating BYU. I was thinking of the last really big program that Boise State beat. Okay, BYU a couple years ago when they were ranked 10th. That was a regional deal. BYU was an independent that year. That was not a big deal. Nobody else in college football gave a rip about that game. But Florida State was a big deal. And that was Boise State got to live in the moment that night. You watch college football final. What game do they open with? Oh, Boise State does it again. No, name the place, the time. They go down. Hurricanes can't stop them. And here they are. They snip another mega program. They did. They lived nationally. Now, Florida State didn't even go to a bowl game that year, but that's not Boise State's fault. That was still a national story. They haven't had one for me since. That was like Hank Bachmeier's freshman year.
It was Hank Bachmeier's first game.
Yeah,
you could argue that Hank Bachmeier played his best game, had best results in his first game.
I thought he did, but
yeah. Well, based on who they played too. Yeah.
The reason I think that it could be this year too, a national conversation, and this is totally in play. This is not just Johnny Ball game coming up with some, Fugazi scenario. Bob mentioned earlier, about how the CFB 12 will be distributed. Think about this. 2 SEC teams can't both get a bye, even if they're ranked number 1 and 2 in America. And there's no question they're the best 2 teams. Sorry, the byes are all reserved for conference champions, the top 4. This scenario, if Boise State goes 11-1, and I think that's what my record prediction will be. We haven't done official predictions, but dude, I'll give them the Oregon loss. I don't think I see another hiccup unless injuries and a bunch of other bull crap happen. But I'll go 11-1. Win the Mountain West Championship 12-1. If Boise State is 12-1 and the champion of the Big 12 is the Utah Utes, awesome. Prater's going to be thrilled. But they are 10-3. They're 10-3. The ACC champion is also 10-3. Man, they whatever they are. Boise State could get a freaking bye week in that scenario, in this tournament, the first one ever of its kind. Okay?
You're counting on the committee to take a non-power. It's possible. It's possible. But where I think they're really going to they would really have a case. What if Boise State were to go undefeated?
Then
and Oregon's good.
Yeah,
and it isn't like a fall flat on your face. Yeah. Ducks, everybody expects the Ducks to be great, and they end up, 7-5.
Yeah, and then let's say, for BJ's sake, Kansas wins the Big 12 championship game, but they got there with 4 losses, 2 in league, 2 in non-con. Yeah. So Kansas is an auto bid into this tournament at 9-4. You think they're going to give that team, a 9-4 team, a bye week versus an undefeated Boise State from the G5? No. And that's part of my problem with this tournament. I don't want bye weeks to be reserved for conference championships. And I think the committee, if this happens, they're going to say, oh, shucks. Uh-oh, we can't do this anymore. We can't get Boise State a bye in this tournament. But in that scenario,
they might have to.
Have to. I mean, if you ever get like a bid stealer, and it won't happen very often because there's not divisions anymore. Right, Bob?
Yeah,
that makes 2.
Yeah.
But there might be a team that gets into, say, the Big 12 or the ACC championship game that's got 4 losses on the season, 2 in league, 2 in non-con. And if they surprise whatever team they're playing and upset them and win, all of a sudden they get to go to the tournament with 4 losses. That's going to happen sometimes. But also, not only that, but they make themselves eligible for a bye week because they're a conference champion. Like, it's not completely far-fetched, idiotic to put Boise State in that scenario if they go undefeated or only have 1 loss. And if they're on the level at all with these with the ACC or the Big 12, you're right, Bobby, they won't get the bid. But if they're not on the level, then it could be Boise State back in the national conversation.
Now, let me throw one at you and tell me, isn't this one wouldn't ruffle some feathers?
Throw it at me.
What if Memphis went undefeated too?
Okay, so Memphis is undefeated out of the American.
Yep.
Boise State is undefeated out of the Mountain West. Unless the ACC, let's just say in this case, Florida State wins it. Let's say Utah wins the Big 12. Both those schools each have 2 or more losses. So are you basically saying that the 4 byes will go to the Big 10, the SEC, the American, and the Mountain West? If that does happen, they're going to do something about it. I mean, the Big 12's not going to be cool with this. But anyway, that no one's talking about that, but that could
it's possible.
Kind of maybe be in play. You're going to have to go undefeated though and hope that a Cinderella sneaks in.
And Johnny, let me ask you this question.
Bring it.
As somebody that you gamble, I do not at all. You got to win 13 games, right? To go 12 and then conference playoff. What would they give you for a 13-team parlay in Vegas?
If I picked 13 teams and they all
had to win, what would you get?
On a $10 bet on a 13-team parlay, I don't know, 500,000. I don't know.
So basically, that's what you're asking a Memphis or a Boise State to do. I mean, to win 13 in a row.
Yeah,
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's possible, but it's hard.
But if that does happen, see, because I think ESPN, I think Fox, CBS, I think they would love Boise State to be sexy again. I think they all got a kick out of Boise State. It played well for everybody. Herb Street, Fowler, all those yahoos, all the networks. They love talking Boise State. It was polarizing because there was half the people saying, and Brock Heward, who came on this show, says he almost got in an altercation in a CFP meeting with Chris Spielman over the WAC when Boise State played in the WAC, and Chris Spielman said they're in the WAC. They shouldn't be allowed. And Brock Heward said, watch them play. They got 15 NFL guys on their team, or 10 NFL guys anyway. But share your thoughts. 208-424-9300. We call it the Cloverdale Plumbing text line. Appreciate the folks at Dollar Loan Center. You want a loan? Just go to don'tbebroke.com and see what they can do. Dollar Loan Center supplies our video segments each and every day. It's Hoops Nostalgia for Bob Beeler tonight. Who's headed to the Bronco Legends Classic? Let's get there. When we come back, Beeler's in for Prater. It's Prater on the ball game on KTIK, The Ticket.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studios, this is Ticket Traffic.
Heading west, still